Cool. Welcome, everybody. Can you hear us? Let's do a check on that first. Okay, I see some people nodding, so that's good. I'm Rainier. I'm Dutch, as you may be able to hear. I'm the co-founder and CRO of Veylinx. We are an agency that helps brands like Mars and PepsiCo with getting the insights they need to launch their innovation successfully in the market and price it successfully. But we don't do it in a traditional way, so we don't use surveys, we don't use focus groups, we use behavioral approaches, and we actually have an approach that has a put your money where your mouth is, a skin in the game approach. I will not tell everything about it, but if you're interested, our booth is right over there, and you can come see us after this session. But for now, enough of the introduction, let's get into the fun part. We were supposed to have someone from Diageo with us on stage as well, Kate. She unfortunately had to cancel last minute, so her apologies for that. But we have John from PepsiCo and we have Johanna from Mars. And what I did not prepare you for is that I want to start with a little bit of rapid fire. So tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. And Johanna, I see the panic in your eyes. I'll keep it friendly. A Mars or a Snickers?
Snickers.
Nice. A summer holiday or a winter holiday?
I was a summer holiday, but now I'm a winter holiday.
Right? A bit too much. Would you prefer to work on innovation work or brand work?
Always innovation work.
Nice. And would you prefer a nice dinner or a nice concert?
Ooh, nice dinner. There is a lot of good conversation happening over dinner, so always food first.
Awesome. All right. Well, then we're getting a little bit warmed up. So, John, for you, I start with a tough one. Doritos or Pringles?
Doritos.
Living in the city or living in the countryside?
The city.
The city.
Thank you.
The gym or the pub?
The gym, then the pub.
Ah, very good, very good. Performing on stage or going to a concert?
Going to the concert. Nowadays.
Interesting. Okay, nowadays. There we go. John, well, still is an amazing performer as well, so that's why I put the question in there. But to get started, we want to talk about, well, insights, the importance of it. And I don't think insights is really important. It's really about understanding the consumer and getting that across. So I think if you look at like Mad Men or shows like that, a very long time ago, there were like the static, like, well, what does the consumer want to know? And people were not even convinced on it. But we've seen recently like the role of insights within a company evolving and changing so much. And I'm curious how you guys see that. How has that changed over time? Johanna, do you have some?
Yeah, sure. So at Mars, I am the Global Agile Insights Manager. And we had to adopt much more of an agile approach. So because innovation isn't linear, innovation happens in iterations. So we have to make sure we can do very quickly that loop of test, measure, learn, understand what we've learned and how might we go next. And also innovation happens in sprints now. The good innovation teams work in sprints. So we can't really wait for a long time to get to the insight, and we need some really fast and really quick ways of finding out which direction we should be going next. And the other thing that enables us to do that is obviously AI, where we can really quickly create very quick prototypes, visualize what we're thinking, and get some response from the consumers. So that's where we are with Insights at Mars.
Very cool. And John, what about you? How have you seen the role of insights within PepsiCo evolving? I think it has had quite an interesting route within PepsiCo, actually. Or
It's quite a what, sorry?
had an interesting route or interesting evolvement in PepsiCo in recent years, I would say.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's also about the business moving at the speed of the consumer, the speed of technology. And as I'm sure everybody here is very aware, the way that we used to market to consumers, the canvases with which we had to speak to them on, have massively diversified in the last 10, 15, 20 years and constantly changing today. We're expected to be able to demand their attention. We can only hold it for a very short time. It's the same with the consumer research industry, right? So historically, you'd be looking at 10, 15, 20-minute long surveys to try and sort of ask people everything that you would ever want to know about your brand or about the project that you're, the product that you're testing, etc. That's not going to work anymore because people don't want to give up that much amount of time, and they also aren't going to be as engaged with it. So you've either got to give them a really good incentive to get them to take part in the study, make it quick, make it fast, give them a good carrot to get out of it, or as you mentioned, give them some skin in the game. And that's not just an advertised way of saying it, but otherwise the data that you're going to collect is just rubbish. And if your data is rubbish, then your insights and your learnings are going to be rubbish, and the stories that you're telling within your business are going to be rubbish as well. So it's very much shifting from just providing a single data point to being able to tell effective stories with decent data.
Yeah. No, and it's also interesting, I think, what you say, like just asking the consumer directly probably will not give you the real answer that you are looking for. And I think one thing that is interesting from both the categories where you work in, for people that don't know, John, you work mainly on snacks, so not on the beverages, but on the snacks. So both very indulging brands, but consumers often don't behave rational when it comes to snacking. I would say it's a bit the same as like within beauty and well-being, where indeed the emotional part or like the mood of a consumer plays a huge effect as well. Are these also some things that you encounter with your research, like, well, we cannot ask it directly, or do you have any examples like how to get behind it or how to get around that? Whoever wants.
Yeah, sure. So for us, for sure, we innovating with prototypes. So that's from low fidelity to high fidelity. So anything from a napkin sketch to the real product. I have stood on the streets of London with a tray with Mars bars on it, trying to see if the new version is something that anybody would like. So done all of that. And the other one that is really more and more in the foreground is experimenting in context. Because it's one thing showing somebody like, hey, this is the product, do you like it? And humans just say yes. So, for example, what we try to do is put it in a shelf context and have people just walk past it and see if they notice it, does it stand out, do they know what it's for, does it even make it into the conscious set. So really trying to understand how can we experiment in context with how they would really experience the world and not just showing them a single photograph or a picture.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We both work in heavy repertoire categories, right? I'm sure all of you have got within your bags of snacks that you would buy, there's like 5, 6, 7, 8 brands that you would buy, and you're not necessarily buying because you want to buy one specific snack. You're buying for an occasion or for a specific need. So when you're showing somebody something in a vacuum, you're saying, hey, would you buy this? It's like, yeah, I'd buy this. Would you buy this at 5 a.m. In the morning where you're just trying to get to the gym to give you a boost for protein? It's like, well, no, obviously not, because it's a Dorito. Thanks, I'm not that dirty. But what you're then able to do with, while you're putting it in that context, is also to be able to get relative pricing in there as well, because we've got great examples where you show somebody something that they may like, but then you go, okay, well, this is going to be £3. They're like, no, I'm not paying £3 for that. But if you're able to try and ascertain what people's relative value is, so for example, you show something to somebody and they go, would you buy this £3? They go, no. And you go, well, you also said you'd buy this, which is £4. So why is the relative value so different? And if you're going through that context lens and the category lens, then you're able to get a far more richer insight out of it in terms of what is actually driving that worth paying more for, which is what you're trying to aim for within repertoire-led categories as well.
Yeah, I think that's super powerful. Like, context matters. Context matters a lot, and just testing out of context often loses the value that is driving behind it. The other thing I really love what you said, Johanna, was you've been literally out on a street corner with a tray with Mars bars, interacting with your consumer, putting something on the stand in a coffee shop and seeing if people would interact with it. And I think that is even a misconception that you sometimes hear around, well, I work in insights. Oh, so you create surveys. That's not it. That's not what we do. And I think this is the stage for us to emphasize that as well. And maybe to also get specific, like, John, do you also have some maybe tangible examples of like out of the common, out of the ordinary research that you recently did, or some applications or implications that it has had that really pushed the company forward?
There's a couple of things. So, getting a consumer data point, it doesn't have to be from a survey. It's providing you're comfortable with the level of sort of rigor that you're putting behind something. As Johanna mentioned, you're going out and you're getting a consumer data point that says, they will actually buy this, so that you're ticking the box on desirability. If you're able to get that through, there's a lot of great agile tools out there by way of getting consumers to do challenges for you, tasks for you. I mentioned that you're trying to capture people's attention. You can get that by gamifying research as much as you can. So you'd be like, okay, we're going to pay you 50p to go and do this mission here, 50p to do this mission here. So it all stacks up. But the great thing that you're getting from that is not only engaged, actual visible results coming through, so you can see what they're actually doing, so they're not claiming that they're doing something, but you're also getting content for your internal sales job as an insights professional as well. So you can actually curate reels for people and go, look, we've got 5 people here. This is how they eat this thing. This is how they're interacting with it. And that tells, it tells 1,000 words from like a 5-second video clip, as I'm sure many people will know. And that's been one of the most powerful things for us as we've kind of moved towards we still do surveys. There's still a place for them, but when we're trying to get that sort of that richer understanding, then getting people to do stuff for you in a way that they will be engaged with it has been really compelling for us.
Yeah, I can build on that, because we have even gone to the point where we have cross-functional teams, and they all will be involved in running an experiment. So it's not just me creating a brief and then going and doing something and bringing back a PowerPoint. We really want everybody to experience the insight and have an insight you can feel. So they are all involved in that experiment. So they could be even the ones that are talking to consumers, setting the experiment up, they're around it, they can see it, they can feel it. And then we go back to the room together and say, what have we learned? What surprised us? They all have different point of views. They all have got diverse thinking. It's what we need when we're doing insights. Seeing different angles in what one person finds a surprise the other one might have not noticed. So that's really, really helpful and really gets everybody on board, and then you can much better move forward with that insight, because everyone has got a bit of skin in the game.
Yeah, it's about generating that human empathy as much as you can, because I mean, from a brand marketing lens, we try and find a sweet spot in the middle of what a human tension is, what a cultural tension is, and what the brand or the product can do for our consumers. And if you're able to try and expose the people who are working on these projects to really get a solid understanding of what that human problem is, putting them in the consumer's shoes, especially given that we've got brands that are consumed by millions and millions of people every day. We've got super high penetration in these categories. Everybody thinks they know snacks, but thinks they know gum, they know chips, etc. But trying to get yourself out of that bubble and to try and live that experience is one of the most important things.
Yeah. Do you have any specific tactics or strategies or ways how you can get like your broader organization really involved and really engaged in those learnings and in that consumer understanding? Because on one hand, I would say your role is to really identify those learnings, understand your consumer, identify those tensions, but in the way you need to make sure they travel through your organization. They are adopted. In a way, you're a storyteller, I would assume. Any thoughts on that, Johanna?
I mean, of course, we've got already, because so many people have been involved, we've got a bit of a critical mass that's behind us. But when I know that I landed on a good insight, is when somebody on a Teams call, when the insight is presented, says like, that's my mum. Or they say, oh, that's me. Or that's, I don't know, somebody I know. And I'm like, that's what I know. I landed a good insight, because they can see themselves in it. They see somebody else they know in it. And that's where I'm like, good, we've done a good job. This has truly an insight I can feel. So that's the sort of measure I'm trying to get to. And this is how I suppose I know I've done a good job.
Is that penny dropping moment?
It is the penny dropping moment, yes. And I suppose what I'm saying is that a good insight, you don't need to sell it, because people identify with it. People like instantly make connections in their heads, and therefore it's kind of sells itself.
It's like an inherent human truth we're all aware of, But that's one where those really powerful insights come from, where you sort of sit in the middle and you're like, of course, this makes it 100% great. But you also don't have to directly ask people about it as well, right? So there's many ways that you can get data out of people. You know, we touched upon how diversified the marketing world has become, how diverse all the data collection points that we've got. You can pretty much get data from anyone, anywhere, which is great. It's a very useful thing, but making sure that data tells a decent story and is really helpful to you is one of those key jobs that Insights have as well. One of the great ways that we've managed to not weaponize, I think that's potentially the wrong word, but you know, we run in the US the Doritos Crash the Super Bowl campaign, which is where we get people to create adverts for Doritos to win a chance at having a slot within that Super Bowl. Huge, you know, audience for people to take part in, great chance for people to make their name as content creators, so forth. And there's obviously, there's a $1 million prize as well, which is obviously very exciting. But the great thing is about that is that you've got thousands and thousands of people telling you by their creations what they love about the brand, what they think it is that they want to tell other people about the brands, what really pull apart some of those macro themes that come through. It's really interesting to see how many are things that we've sort of been telling from a marketing perspective for ages and what is landing, but also things that we've missed that you just won't get if you're sort of talking to people in a focus group or just asking people from a survey online or reacting to an advert that you've shown online. So there's some really powerful things to be able to get in data that you may already have access to, or some really fun ways that you can get it to. And it doesn't have to be a $1 million activation or a competition. It can be just connecting with followers through your socials and getting them to run small brand challenges in exchange for whatever small carrot may be enough to get them to do it for you.
But that is so cool because you're getting your insights from, well, actual consumers, but it's also about activation, it's about awareness, there is creation going on. So it's not just coming from the silo of insights, coming from the silo of activation, coming from the brand. It's a combination of all of the above, and I think those things are really powerful as well. Which also gets me to think, if the function of insights goes further and further beyond a survey and all of these cool things, like if it is being on the corner of the street, if it is having consumers win $1 million with thinking of the next big Super Bowl campaign, would you agree that creativity as a skill is key for this generation of insights folks? Do you need that creativity in order to get there?
Good question. I think creativity is important, but before I would think creativity, for me it's critical thinking. In Insights, it is already a superpower of ours, but we know with the development of AI, it's so important to develop critical thinking, because unfortunately everybody thinks they are an expert now because they can just ask AI what to do. So critical thinking, in my mind, being really data savvy. We know, again, a superpower of an insight organization, but even more now, because it will be all about what data we're training the algorithms on. So we really need to understand, is our data good enough? Is it without bias, and so on. And the third one is, so we talk about data savvy, critical thinking, and asking good questions, because we have all the answers now. We have all the answers, but asking a good questions is still quite a skill, and really being able to formulate a good question that unlocks the insight, that unlocks something for you to work with, is going to be another superpower that we need to really fine-tune and get on top of it.
I'll add the superpower of passing the funny look test. I'm a recent reciprocant of a full co-pilot's license. I consider myself blessed. So that's the Microsoft AI. And I thought we would, I put it through its paces trying to, I asked it some questions about the brand, asked some questions about general archetypes, you know, a very, very fun thing to ask about. And I hadn't realized that it had, and I might be slightly naive here, but I hadn't realized that it indexed not only all the files on my computer, but also every single SharePoint that I had access to. And it then came up with answers to the questions that I put in that were comments in old versions. And it said, so-and-so said that this about this brand and this about this brand. And you're like, okay, I had no idea this was there or that this person had said these things. they're wrong, for starters. We've also changed our mind on them, and it's a very bad interpretation of the data that's on the slide anyway. But if you're just accepting that at face value, then there's a very big danger of falling into the AI trap there. One of the things that we're trained in Insights is to be able to sort of interrogate that data. And because we know, hopefully should know our categories well enough, you're able to know whether or not the AI is telling you if something's straight, or even if the data that you're getting in is straight, even if it's from a survey, even if it's from Veylinx, even if it's from your socials, etc. But I think that's one of the great superpowers as well. And creativity in terms of storytelling, definitely.
Very cool, very cool. I see some people hinting that we are at time. So it flew by.
We've got to get off this hot stage.
But I want to close with one closing remark or one final question to you. Like, what would you give as advice to the audience here when it comes to truly understanding your consumer, the role of insights and how to bring that forward? Any thoughts that could be useful to the audience?
My advice would be get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because that's, where you find your most creative experiments, and it feels awkward. The first time I stood on the streets of London, it felt very awkward. But the more you do it, the more you get used to it. And also get comfortable with getting directional insights. And really, insights should not be delaying decision-making. They should truly be enabling decision-making in real time. So that would be my 2 words of advice.
100% echo that completely. I think also, just to build on that, the directional insight, there are times when it's good enough. 9 times out of 10, the answer is already there, so you don't have to go and get fresh research. No offense, Rainier, but you don't have to spend extra money on the research. You've already got the answers somewhere within the business, just because the answer hasn't necessarily come specifically from the thing that you're looking for, or necessarily from your market. In these massively high penetration categories, 99 out of 100 times that question has already been asked. The answer will be out there. It's just being comfortable with the where it's come from and that it's good enough to be able to move forwards.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Thanks for sharing the stage with me. And for everyone here, as said, if you work on a brand, you're interested in how to do your insights in a more better behavioral way, come and talk to us. We're right over there where absolutely no one comes by, so it would be awesome if someone shows up. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.